I'm going to talk to you about the three-part man. There's a great amount of confusion about this. We're not just a body and a mind. We're a body, a mind, and a spirit. And today they say body, mind, and spirit. But the order is wrong. It is the spirit first, the body second, and the mind third. The spirit is first, and the spirit, even by man's laws, is called the animating force of a human being. When we stop moving and breathing, the animating force is gone. That is the life force. We know that that life force is electrical. We know that we need electrolytes as human beings, and we know that we have an electrical force field, and that's what makes us electrical. We're an electrical chemical being. Electrical being our spirit and our force field, and our chemical being our nutrients and what we're made up of. These are the proteins, minerals, and different things that make us up. The beauty of that is, and here's the real beauty, is that we are a renewable resource. We're rebuildable, recyclable. We have a new stomach lining every 4 days, a new layer of skin every 28 days, and every 16 months. Every cell in our body is brand new. Imagine, we are totally replaceable. So I want to get into another point. Cures. Cures mean to relieve the irritating symptom. It means to relieve the pain. It is temporary usually because of a drug that this is usually what people go to a doctor for. But a cure is something like you would smoke in a smokehouse. It's a cure. It's a temporary fix. It's not really doing what people think it is. What most people want is to heal or healing. Healing means to restore to the original. It means to rebuild. It means to take back to original and soundness. It means natural growth and natural regeneration and natural refunctioning of organs. In the beginning, when the sperm meets the egg, the spirit starts. There's an electrical charge that happens at that moment. That's when life begins. Okay, then the body starts to develop next. And last, the brain develops, and it records what it sees. So the spirit is the true person. That's where the soul is. The body is, as we would call it, the vehicle that our spirit rides in during this journey of life. Okay? And the mind is the justifier, liar, the perceiver, as I call it. There is no such thing as incurable or untreatable. Those words only belong to people with incurable and untreatable brains or minds. And let me explain why. Because we're brand new every 16 to 18 months and have a new layer of skin every 28 days, that gives us the potential to literally rebuild and re-heal and take our bodies back to the original if it's done properly. The only true thing that goes on today that is incurable is people's stupidity. They keep seeming to choose it. But the truth is that because man doesn't deal, and medicine does not deal, and doctors do not deal with the spirit, they see death. But in God's book, it is real. In God's book, there is healing. And here is part of the reason. The body being new, the spirit tends to work with truth and lies. The spirit works with our emotions. Our emotions go with our spirit. Okay? Then our body is either fed right or fed wrong. If it's fed right, it regenerates. If we don't give it what it needs, it can't regenerate. It ages. It becomes diseased or unrest. Disease or unrest at the cellular level. This creates sickness. So disease comes first. Sickness comes second. Okay, and we can rebuild that physical body if we change our brain, if we stop justifying and lying. If we go back to that spirit man, the truth can start to work with us. Now imagine that your spirit is your electrical force field, or energy as people call it. It's like having 5 rooms in your house, or 5 systems, that have 20 volts each, needing 100 volts total. Take one of those rooms, or your emotions, and hold on to it and don't let it go, and block off that electrical charge of the spirit from working. In other words, if you put 5 volts into a room instead of 20, there's not going to be enough light. The room will be moldy. It will be dark. Those 15 volts then go to another room that already has 20. It becomes over-enlightened, over-bright. There's too much electricity, too much charge, and it can start a fire, just like in a house if the electrical currents weren't run in a proper manner. So there are good thoughts and bad thoughts, which equal good energy and bad energy. Now, once we start to work within these realms, we start to see that anything is possible. Now, I've worked with a lot of terminal illnesses. Check my YouTubes, check my history. I've had an incredible career in working with so-called untreatable illnesses, getting people off of meds. Most of this, and the people that have these incurable diseases or are dealing with terminal functions, it is almost always, without exception, I find the thing to be unforgiveness. That unforgiveness and anger, or the root of bitterness, is what I see happening. And until that is let go, or until that is relieved, as in the Bible, it says in Mark 11 that we have to forgive, or it shall not be given to us the things that we pray for. In that same Mark 11, it talks about how you can have any mountain removed, meaning a problem, if we'll believe. But it says that we have to forgive if we're going to have this total healing. So why does men have incurable and untreatable diseases? Why do doctors treat these things but have no luck? Because they're only treating two parts of the man. They're using fear on his mind and treating his body with chemicals that are not correct. So see our video on reducing medications and you'll start to understand this more. So if people would start to forgive and they would start to understand that there's a higher power, they would see things start to work. Any of the successes that I've had in my career, it's due to this spiritual aspect. I've studied medicine men, and all the greatest medicine men were the most giving individuals. They were the most selfless, not selfish. So if there's anything that I can say to you, that is that forgiveness is the biggest factor in healing and in the three-part man. So first it's God, then everything else. And if healing fails, well, then we know that there wasn't forgiveness. But you know, only man can contemplate the future and the past. Only man has a soul. Animals don't do these things. They don't have a soul. But a man does, and he has that potential. So I say to you, when you're considering the three-part man, think about this. And when people talk about energy work, most of them don't know what they're doing, because we can actually increase people's energy by giving them the right supplements, and their electrical charge goes up, and all this is measurable. So don't be fooled, people. Get your facts straight. It's the spirit, the body, and the mind.